Coming up on Smart Tech Today, Matthew Cassinelli and I talk to Yuval Boger, CMO of Wi-Charge, about the future, which is true wireless charging via infrared technology. It is fascinating, so stay tuned to that and so much more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by FreshBooks, the #1 accounting software in the cloud for self-employed professionals and their teams. Make the running of your business easier and more efficient with FreshBooks. Try it free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/STT. Welcome to Smart Tech Today, where we explain the exciting, dynamic, and, well, sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I'm Mikah Sargent.
And I'm Matthew Cassinelli.
And I'm excited because we have our first guest interview today. Woo!
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, so Yuval Boger, who is the CMO of Wi-Charge, is here with us today to talk about the Wi-Charge technology. Now, this is the true future, Matthew, because I can remember for the longest time, I have been sort of not anti wireless charging pads, but sort of really bothered by the fact that we call these little things that we put these pucks on our table and we put our phones on top of them, and then to call that wireless feels a little weird because your phone is still sort of anchored to that. But Wi-Charge is a little bit different.
Yeah, it transfers wireless over a light base station into your devices. So it provides wireless power across a distance, not just Qi charging where it's like, if it's half a centimeter off, it won't work.
Yeah, that's kind of been the annoying thing. So Yuval, you're here. Do you want to tell us, a little bit about Wi-Charge and just explain the main technology to folks and what makes this technology so revolutionary?
Absolutely. So I think you definitely touched on the need. Today, when you have a smart home device or an IoT device, it gets power in one of two ways. Either it's wired, meaning it's tethered to the wall to a power outlet and gets all the energy it ever wants, but it's not mobile. Or it's battery operated, either a single-use battery or a rechargeable battery. But then the issue is first you have to either recharge or replace the batteries. And then we also find that manufacturers limit the functionality of the device because they don't want to force the users to recharge or replace very often. Imagine, for instance, if you had this super smart door lock, but you had to replace the battery once a day. Well, that's not really tenable, right? So what manufacturers do is they sort of fight this battle between power consumption and battery capacity and functionality, and usually functionality loses. So Wi-Charge set out to offer a third way of delivering energy to devices. As you say, long-range wireless charging. So the idea is that from a distance, 10 feet, 20 feet, 5 feet, sort of room-size distances and even beyond, we can deliver energy to a device without that device being either corded or running purely on battery. And because we can do that, we can either eliminate the battery altogether or eliminate the process of charging the battery. The device just is topped off indefinitely, but yet deliver plenty more energy than battery does, so you can have all the functionality that you want. Now, this sounds magic, and some people think it's magical, but it's not magic. It actually works. And here's how it works. We analyze the various ways that you can send energy from one side of the room to the other. Let's assume you don't want a lightning discharge inside your living room. So what you really have to do is you have to take electricity from the outlet, convert it into something. It could be light, it could be radio frequency, it could be ultrasound, it could be any phenomena that you want. And then on the other side, where the device is, capture as much of that energy as you can and convert it back into electricity. We chose light. So we have a small transmitter. It today is the size of say a Coca-Cola can, so pretty small, something that wouldn't take half your living room. It finds small receivers. Our receiver could be as small as a fingernail, so half an inch by half an inch or something like that. And then it sends a thin beam of infrared light, invisible light, from the transmitter to the receiver. The receiver is essentially a solar cell, a photovoltaic cell, that takes this concentrated light and converts it back into electricity. And the outcome is what we said: you no longer need to replace batteries, you no longer need to be corded.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So this basically it's two devices in any way. We've got the one device that's sending out that, and I imagine that you mentioned it's like a very concentrated device. So I couldn't just I couldn't take my remote for my television and hit the number 2 and hold it down and charge up my phone using that. I imagine that infrared beam is not as powerful as what the Coca-Cola sized transmitter is doing.
That's correct, because when you push the number 2 on your remote, you're not really trying to send energy. Energy is sort of a byproduct of what you're doing. You're trying to send just a tiny bit of information to your TV set that it will know that you pressed the number 2. Similarly, with if you have a Wi-Fi router, you're not really trying to send enough Wi-Fi energy to charge a device, and you actually wouldn't be able to do that because the FCC would step in and say, no, it's dangerous. You're just sending a tiny bit of energy that is then amplified by the device. Now, with our technology, we're actually sending power. So this is a much more significant amount of energy than you can get with your infrared remote.
Okay. Now, let's talk about sort of the choice that you made here. So the company made the choice of using infrared technology. Is that because of its sort of flexibility? Like, does this work during the day? Does it work at night? What's, you have to have line of sight. How can I imagine using this in my daily use? So let's say I wanted to, in a world where I can charge my phone with this, is this something where I need to be sitting on my couch in the same room where the transmitter is? And is it going to work in the day and at night? And how does infrared sort of play into that?
So first, to answer the question, yes, it works day and night. You don't have to do anything. It's completely plug and play. One finds the other, and then energy transmission starts. So there's no configuration. There's no pairing. There's no web browser. If you have a transmitter in your office and a transmitter at home, you can take one device from here to there, and you wouldn't need to do anything for it to start charging. Light is the best choice for that after we did all the analysis for two big reasons. One is physics, and the other is safety. Let me just dive a little bit deeper. When you think of a light beam, imagine a laser pointer. Right, you could be standing in one side of a room and paint a really tiny small dot on the corner of the other side of the room. That means that if you had a photovoltaic cell, a small solar cell, you could have a very, very small cell, yet capture the entirety of the beam. All that energy would be captured by a very small cell because the light does not become wider and wider. The beam stays narrow and focused. In contrast, if you have something like radio frequency, where it's actually designed so your entire neighborhood could get your radio station, right? It goes wider and wider. Then the farther you take the receiver from the transmitter, the less and less and less energy that you're able to capture with any given size receiver. So one huge advantage of light is that we can send much more energy, and the amount of energy that's captured does not change with distance. You don't want to say, I can hypothetically charge my phone at 1 centimeter, but there's no way I can charge it at 50 centimeters, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one reason. The other reason is some say that light is nature's preferred way of power delivery, right? You go outside the parking lot, there's infrared light all around you. That's part of sunlight. And why is that important? That's important because as human beings or living organisms, we've grown accustomed to being in an environment that has infrared light. That's not true for RF, right? RF is fairly new, has been on there for 100 to 200 years, and so human beings are not truly accustomed to a higher power RF. And where that is reflected is in the safety standards. The U.S. government and other safety organizations come in and say, well, this is how much you can send with RF, this is how much you can send with infrared, and you can send much, much more with infrared, yet be completely safe. By the way, if you could send a lot more with RF, then you wouldn't have any Wi-Fi issues at home, right? Because everyone would just boost up the power of their Wi-Fi routers. But they can't do that because they're bumping up against the limit of what the FCC allows them to do.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, is the securities, or not security, but just like health concerns are always what seems so foreign with something like this. But it is, as you were explaining that, I was like, oh yeah, the sun, duh. Especially because it doesn't lose the energy over great distances. That was like my main question, is how much like power delivery does it get compared to a normal wall outlet? Because I saw that you have 1 watt and 3 watt levels. Is that it?
So we have transmitters that can deliver anything from 250 milliwatts of usable energy to the client. This is something that you can actually use that 250 milliwatt of energy to charge your device or to power your device, all the way up to devices that can deliver over 2 watts. Now, let me just give you a perspective here. If you had a smart home device and that smart home device had, say, 4 AA batteries, and let's assume that you were willing to replace these batteries once every 6 months. You say, well, that's reasonable. That's not too much. If you calculate that out, the average power consumption, the average amount of energy that your device can take from that battery is about 1 milliwatt, 1/1000th of a watt. So even our low-end product delivers 250 milliwatts, 250 times that. So imagine how much functionality you can get this way.
Nice. Does that mean that one station delivers 250 total across each of the devices that it's hitting like that? Or is it one per connection sort of thing?
Yes. So the 250 milliwatt device in our example can share that energy across multiple devices. It's almost like asking how many users can a single Wi-Fi hotspot support? Well, it depends on how much bandwidth they want, right? Are they checking email or are they trying to watch a movie? So a 250 milliwatt model can either deliver 250 milliwatt to a single device, or it can say, no, I have 5 devices and on average I'll give them 50 milliwatt each, or I'll give 200 to one device and a little bit to 10 other devices, and so on and so on.
Now,
that makes sense.
Do you see this technology more as sort of a transferring to the client, and it then is charging up a battery that then powers a device? Or is this like a direct thing where you are sending the power goes immediately to the device to power it? Or because I'm thinking of lights, and so like an LED light, it doesn't take up a whole bunch of energy, but it does if you want to run that light throughout the day. So is this an instance where you have kind of like battery packs attached to everything that can be charged with this infrared light? Or are we looking at just, when the light comes on, it's directly getting that power from the connect or from the transmitter?
So we do have demos where the light is just powering directly the device. If you've been to trade shows and seen Wi-Charge, you see Lego trains that run without batteries, and that's using our technology. But in most cases, you would have either a small battery or a supercapacitor, and that battery or supercapacitor would collect energy from our device and then make it available to your device. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One reason is, what if there's a power outage? I mean, even your security system at home may have a 3-day backup battery, right? What if there's a power outage? You don't want your security system to go down. The second reason is that there are many devices that have low average power consumption, but high instantaneous power consumption. So the most extreme example, for instance, is a height adjustable desk, one of these desks that you push a button and becomes higher and lower. So when the desk operates, when it rises or lowers itself, maybe it takes 50 watts, but it does that for 3 minutes a day, right? So you could run a height adjustable desk with a Wi-Charge system, because you'd have a battery on that desk. The battery would collect energy during the day, and then when you need 50 watts for a minute, you'd have it. So in most cases, we see sort of an intermediate energy storage after the Wi-Charge system.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's talk about how this technology that was one perfect example, I think, with the desk. What are some other ways that, from the consumer perspective, this product, I mean, you have had some demos involving some of the devices that we talk about on this show in particular. What are some of the go-to demos that you give right now, how people could use this technology in their homes?
Sure. So, for instance, we did an open house in California last week, and so we demonstrated the train, which is sort of direct drive. We had a smart lock, one of the popular smart lock vendors, that the smart lock no longer needs batteries. It just gets its power from Wi-Charge. We had a phone charging solution. So today, most of the modern phones have Qi charging, right? But let's say you were opening a bar and you wanted, or a restaurant or a Starbucks, and you wanted to provide your existing customers the ability to charge their phones, but you didn't want to run outlets or wires to your beautiful new countertop at the bar. So we've got this standalone device that receives energy for Wi-Charge, that charges a battery, and then the battery powers a Qi charger. So it's like a bridge between your current phone technology, Qi, and what we call the future of power, which is Wi-Charge. So that's one other thing. We've also demonstrated and had it at that open house an aftermarket kit for an Amazon an Echo Dot speaker. Mm-hmm. The idea is that the Echo Dot is a beautiful device. It receives data wirelessly, but it still needs a power cord. So just like Wi-Fi eliminated the data cord, Wi-Charge is eliminating the power cord. So we have this attachment that goes with your Alexa and makes it totally wireless. So you could just put it on a shelf or stick it on the wall with double-sided tape, and you're no longer tethered to a wall.
Nice. That was a good explanation. I was like, oh, that's the line there, the power delivery thing. That is a huge problem with any type of wall-mounted smart tech stuff. Is it's like, this looks great, and then there's a big cord going down the wall in front of you. Is it strong enough to do? I guess probably not televisions, because that's the big thing. Is like those super flat panel TVs that go on the wall could be truly wireless, but
if you get enough batteries,
I guess people just drill holes in the wall at that point for something that dedicated. But
yeah, we don't do televisions, but some of the other things we can do is security cameras. So if you want a security system and you want to place a camera in the top corner of a room, and running the cord to the camera is either ugly, or maybe you're renting and your landlord doesn't allow you to embed cables in the wall, or you just don't want to make the effort if you're moving in 6 months. With wireless power, you can just put your camera wherever you want, put a Wi-Charge device that can charge that camera, and now you're done. So we can have applications that eliminate the need to recharge, that eliminate the need for power cords for sufficiently small devices. And ultimately, because we can deliver more energy than batteries, we think that there are going to be all these new applications that people start thinking about, because they're now possible with this increased level of power delivery.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, see, this would be perfect for me, because I've got on my wall, I've got these LED light panels, and they look great. But then there's this big honking white cord that I have to run from them over and down and all through and it's not pretty. And it would be so nice if it just, I've just got this transmitter that replaces one of the lights in my ceiling, and it's just powering that thing whenever I need it. That would be so great. So let's talk about that in particular, if that's an okay question to ask. Like, how far is Wi-Charge sort of focused on working with companies who will then integrate your technology into their systems, or is this something where one day I could go get a Wi-Charge system to add to the smart home setup that I have in my home?
Our effort right now is working with manufacturers to embed Wi-Charge technology in their devices. One reason is that there are so many different applications for the Wi-Charge technology that we couldn't possibly be active in all of them if we were actually trying to make the device, right? Yeah. And we don't want to compete with our customers. We don't know how to make security cameras. We don't know how to make Amazon Echoes, but we can make them wireless, which is sufficiently revolutionary. So our business is to work with companies to embed our technology in theirs. But we would certainly expect that in 2020, you as a consumer could go out and buy a product that's wirelessly powered by Wi-Charge.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
It's almost as it's, you look for the powered by Wi-Charge kind of thing that is included as part of whatever package it happens to be. And so in theory, then I would have my Wi-Charge transmitter that I got from a smart home kit that I purchased, and then I look for that Wi-Charge, powered by Wi-Charge badge, and then I know that when I'm adding these lights to my home that the transmitter is going to work with that.
Absolutely. I wanted to give you one other example of an area that people don't have a lot of smart home devices, and perhaps it's because of electricity, and that's the bathroom. I don't know about your bathroom, but my bathroom has about 2 outlets, right? And one
same.
It's permanently occupied by the toothbrush, and one is, my wife plugs in the hairdryer sometimes, and so on. But if you start thinking about the bathroom of the future and say, I want a speaker as part of my shower. I want a faucet that automatically adjusts and controls the water temperature. I have little kids and I want a lit toilet seat so they can find their way at night. And so on and so on. These all require power. And today, to run power in a bathroom is a huge renovation project, because you're not just going to run cables in this water-rich environment.
Right.
You're not going to get a contractor to open up all your tile. You just say, well, forget it, I'm not going to do it. But now if you could just install a Wi-Charge transmitter, and now power would get to wherever you need, whether it's the stall or the shower head or the faucet, I think it opens up exciting opportunities, and we may start seeing them soon.
Oh, well, we may start seeing them soon.
That's the exact reason I don't have any small speaker in my bathroom, because I have one outlet that's not even near the sink. So I have to use an extension cord to use my beard trimmer. And that alone could be wireless too. That would be nice. It's all clicking for me now more. It's like it is. I feel like the similarity to just solar power is something that I didn't fully click at first, but it seems like it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. This is cool.
So you mentioned earlier, Yuval, that you were showing off a home in California somewhere. Is this something that is, that is a place for businesses to come and check it out, or is this something that folks like us, journalists who cover this, can see these homes? Or is this even a thing where consumers can come check it out? Sort of, where do those open houses fit into the process? Basically, I want to know, for those out there who are curious about Wi-Charge, what are the best ways for them to kind of learn about this technology, even if it doesn't necessarily mean that right now they'll be able to get their hands on it?
Sure. So the open houses that we did last week in California were sort of one-day events. We had one in Mountain View and one in San Francisco, and we advertised it on Eventbrite and on social and on our website, and anyone could come in and sort of experience the magic of wireless power. But there'll be others. We'll definitely be at CES, where we might do additional open houses. There are other shows. So a really good place to go is of course, the Wi-Charge website. That's y-charge.com, where you can sign up for a newsletter, get our insights. I have a podcast, the Charge Guy podcast, where I host experts on wireless power, and have a new episode once every couple of weeks. And of course, we advertise these events like the open houses and trade shows. So just sign up to our newsletter. And by the way, you guys should come on my podcast. I'd love to have you there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, we will definitely have to do that. And I just followed that because I want to stay posted for your next open house so I can come check it out in person. In fact, Matthew and I both could, since we're both here in California, assuming that you have one. I'm sad I missed the San Francisco one.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But we want to thank you for joining us for this conversation and this fascinating sort of first look at Wi-Charge here for us at least, and a little bit of information about what the future of true wireless charging could look like. And I, for one, can't wait for my smart bathroom powered by light, I got to say.
Very good. It's been a pleasure to be on your podcast. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye. All righty, folks. Coming up, we have lots more to talk about here. But first, I want to tell you, you guessed it, our pals at FreshBooks, who are bringing you this episode of Smart Tech Today. Thank you, FreshBooks. You rock. They provide the #1 accounting software in the cloud for you, and they take the stress out of accounting and the stress out of everything for you and your business with easy-to-use billing, expense organization, and time tracking. By the way, it's all at your fingertips. If you're self-employed, are you stuck in the old days of manual invoicing? Well, stop wasting time. With FreshBooks, your billable hours and expenses are automatically added to invoices. Easy invoicing means more time to grow your clients list. You can serve them better and, of course, share in their success. If you have a team that you need to keep on track, well, you can collaborate with your team all on one platform and utilize specific team members by assigning them to the manager role. Of course, this feature allows your second in command to manage projects, billing, and other team members more effectively in a single tool so you can get back to the work that you and only you can do. If you're always on the go, well, don't worry about it because FreshBooks has you covered there too. You can download their easy-to-use app today and always have your business with you. You can snap a picture of a receipt so you can keep track of your expenses. You can respond to clients from wherever you are, and you never miss an update. In fact, FreshBooks lets you stay in sync across the desktop and mobile so you can work on whichever devices you prefer without missing any important information. FreshBooks is used and trusted by small business owners in over 120 countries, including here in the U.S., because my co-host Matthew Cassinelli knows a thing or two about FreshBooks, right?
Yes, it is my go-to source for keeping track of all my invoices and also expenses, which has actually been something I'm trying to stay on top of more this year.
Well, I'm glad that FreshBooks is there for you. With customer service via phone, email, and live chat, you're able to get a quick response to your questions. Make the running of your business easier and more efficient with FreshBooks. Visit freshbooks.com/STT and enter Smart Tech Today in the How Did You Hear About Us section to receive 30 days free. Once again, that's freshbooks.com/STT and enter Smart Tech Today to receive 30 days free. We thank you, FreshBooks, for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today. We do appreciate having you here. Whew, okay, folks, it is time to talk about the news, the smart tech news. So one of the things that I found fascinating was actually a last-minute story that I saw pop up. It's about Google. Well, it's actually about Alphabet, which is, of course, the owner of Google, and that gets very confusing, of course. But they are bidding to buy Fitbit. So one of the smart things that we talk about on this show, of course, are wearables, these devices that help you track yourself to figure out what's going on there. And these wearables are potentially going to be bought by Google. Now, that is interesting. So Alphabet, which I just want to call Google, buying this company, I've seen the history of Google purchases and when they can be bad and when they can be good. And the fact that Google really does just sort of make a lot of stuff and then take it away and make a lot of stuff and then take it away. And so I'm feeling a little weird about Fitbit being purchased by Google. And I wonder if this is an opportunity for Google to compete with Apple in the fitness and health space.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like this is their only opportunity to do that, since they already tried multiple versions of smartwatch technology that seems like it hasn't really taken off. And then Fitbit has been here all the time. Like, regular people use Fitbits, and I think that's one of the main things that you need to go for with this type of technology is if regular people aren't wearing Wear OS, it's probably never going to work or something like that. So it does seem like it would play into their strategy and just like take an existing brand. Who knows? Maybe it'll be called the Nest Bit or something like that.
Oh my God.
Terrible.
Well, what's
Clearly,
isn't Google's health platform called like Google Fit or something?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, maybe they're like, we ran into copyright issues, so just buy the whole company. No.
Yeah, that is it. It is called Google Fit. So yeah, that's easy. Fitbit would be
that is true.
Slide right in there.
Just add the bit.
Just add the bit. Now, the shares rose 27% on the news. So Fitbit's doing well with.
I was going to say, if you're invested in them, that's the best news you've heard in years.
Yeah,
probably.
Darn it! I wish I would have hopped on that before, but I don't know. If I would have heard that, then I would join Martha Stewart in prison for insider trading. So I guess I won't be doing that. But yeah, I think that you're right. This is an opportunity. This is the only opportunity for Google to, at least right now, sort of compete in that space, because it does seem to be, it's either Fitbit or it's Apple Watch, and Apple Watch has a huge chunk of the market space. But if there's one other device that I see on people's wrist that is not just a regular, if I look at someone's wrist out and about, but I only look at people's wrists if they've got something on their wrist. I'm creeping. I'm either looking at an actual like full on non-smart watch, or I'm looking at a Fitbit or an Apple Watch. Those kind of seem to be the three types of on wrist devices. Go ahead.
I think like nobody wants the Fitbit Smart Assistant. Also, like that is one of those things where please just use a normal assistant technology that you don't have to like create a whole ecosystem for, that maybe then is like 3 years later shuts down. It's like just integrating with the big platforms. I think
this could be super good for Fitbit too, because they get to use Android Wear apps instead of like Fitbit apps and services. And so that's going to be
maybe
better.
More of the like just Google AI stuff and things like that. Fitbit's been around for a long time, but I haven't really heard that much about them recently or anything like that. But that might be my biases too.
Well, they did have to cut their revenue forecast in July. They didn't see very good sales, and so it's clear that they too were kind of looking for some other opportunity to really increase and improve upon the wearable. And I don't want to see Fitbit go the way of Pebble. I want these watches, these other platforms to survive, especially one like Fitbit. It's been around for a long, long time, and I can remember before the Apple Watch, was around, people really getting into moving around, making sure they were getting in their 10,000 steps and things like that, with the help of their Fitbit watches, or Fitbit wearables. So I think this is good to have potentially two big companies sort of competing in this space back and forth here. Now, the next little news story that I saw pop up is Waymo has been working on fully automated vehicles for a while, but now in Phoenix they are offering pickups that are called rider-only trips. That means no driver in the driver's seat. These are fully autonomous cars or vehicles, and now it's only available to a few hundred early users. But this is without a backup driver. There's no human at all in the driver's seat, and I'm curious: would this be something you would ride in?
I think I'd do it. I don't know. I mean, maybe it depends on where it is. Like, I don't think I'd get on the Bay Area freeways in rush hour or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, I was going to say, would you go into your studio? Because that sounds like it would be a nice, pleasant trip.
If I could ride from my home to my studio in a driverless vehicle, and I've seen it be successful, like I can go back and look at the history of Waymo and see that it's successful, I would absolutely. do that. Absolutely. Because
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to drive if
if I don't have to
to.
drive, if I can just sit in the car and get things done while I'm on my way, if I can send myself messages and use my Fantastical and do to get things done, then absolutely I'm going to do that. And that's what I see, like the future of automated vehicles for me is the ability to plan my, there's no such thing as travel time, or is not as much of a concern about travel time where you're literally unable to do anything while you're driving. And I can just sort of do the things that I need to do. Or by golly, if I want to watch an episode of Madam Secretary while I'm in the car, then I can do that too. Whatever. That'd be so
It's all
nice.
going to be Netflix time for sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's be real. I'm not going to be working in the car. I'm going to be Netflixing.
I just want your shuttle shows up too. That's the part that's cool. It's not like you have to spend 25 grand on an electric car. It's just like a bus, a personal bus, I guess.
Yeah.
I love those tweets that are always like, congratulations, Silicon Valley, you just reinvented the bus. But that's always good.
Yeah, I don't need. I love the option of because that's kind of what the few of the shows that I've seen. I'm trying to spit out these words and they're just not coming out. But the shows that I have seen that are showing off this technology, it often is it's a city that is offering these driverless vehicles, whatever they be, and you summon them. You don't have one yourself because you don't need to drive yourself anywhere anymore. There are plenty of these vehicles out there. And so you summon it, it comes and picks you up, and then you go. I like that idea more. So, you've got your Ubers and your Lyfts, but now there's nobody in the driver's seat and you can go. This to me that's a future that I'm happy to have. Especially a future without distracted drivers is nice.
Yeah. Especially just Minority Report style where all of the cars merge for themselves perfectly and all that is if it's that safe, that's when it's why not?
Because then at some point the cars can start going faster. You know what I mean? If all and I know people are out there going, but seriously, if there's no concern for the issue of the inconsistency of human beings, then the cars can travel faster to get to their destinations. I'm hearing just cringing happening everywhere, but genuinely, there's a future in which we don't have the same speed limits because we don't have to worry about the error that causes us to have speed limits the human error that causes us to have speed limits in the first place. The next thing that I thought was a pretty great story and is actually something, again, that I might take advantage of. And I wouldn't be surprised if you've got some sort of shortcut to make this happen. But it turns out that if the company chooses to interact with or to integrate with Amazon's platform, then you can use Alpha, which is, for folks who just started watching the show, the name that we call Amazon's Smart Assistant, Alexa. But you can use Alpha to pay your bills. Yeah. Which, I don't know, I would like to be able to. I mean, most of my bills are set up to automatically pay.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting. I mean, it seems like a big move for Amazon Pay, which is something that I think most people might not even really be aware exists, is just the way to make payments through Amazon. And probably, I mean, I don't know. I guess I should check their receipts or their security stuff, but the more information they have about the types of things that you buy, the better they can recommend products to you. So it's still your electricity bill. One of them does say, disconnect my electric bill. And it's what? Who is ever going to use that one?
Yeah.
Is
I would
hey,
use,
just don't pay my bills this month. It's no.
I would like to use the one that's compare my electricity bill. Because if I saw it on, I saw the bill come through and I'm whoa, that's really expensive. And then I could go back and see what the bill was before. That would be kind of nice. And I don't have to get up or move around or anything like that. That's kind of nice. But I don't know that that's, now that I think about how many bills I just pay automatically, I don't know that this actually would be all of that helpful. Although checking to make sure that the payment went through is kind of nice, or an alert that says, hey, your payment went through, because I do use Amazon's notification system that's built into the Echo devices to where I know when my packages are going to come, on that day or what have you. So there's.
I've been scaring my girlfriend with that. She's like, "What are those noises going off in our house?" Because HomePod doesn't do anything like that. So it is totally foreign. I guess, yeah, I did miss the part about like compare my electricity bill, because that's something that, we have like somewhat poor insulation. And so during the winter months, it immediately starts to jump up a lot. It would be nice. I'm curious if you could see mid-month how it's doing, because that would be like a little more actionable.
What are my forecasts for this month, do we think? Oh, yeah. Because Amazon's really working on their AI with that too. So if they could plug that in, that would be really nice. This is something that I know you've been wanting to talk about because this happens and then folks don't really seem to talk about it. And I'm kind of pumped about this. HomePod is finally getting a pretty big update that's going to add several new things. But of course, one of those new things is some real Siri shortcut support via multi-user. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this is actually, now that I put this in here, but I've been trying to test and it's been failing with my girlfriend today. So I haven't actually confirmed, and I'm slightly scared actually, because I've been like, scared. This is one of those things that I'm like waiting for, but I noticed, so when you add so HomePod got multiple voice recognition, and that means that when somebody else in your house wants to ask about their calendar or their reminders or other personal information, it can now recognize that they're the one asking versus you, and then do the right thing versus just like adding a calendar event to your dad's calendar or something like that. In theory, this should allow you to run shortcuts, but I noticed when the personal requests screen came up, it didn't have the shortcuts icon. And so I haven't actually tested it yet. We tried, and every time my girlfriend, it was like, what's on my calendar? It was like, I don't recognize who this is. And she's like, oh, it's me. And then it's like, set this up in the home app. She did it, and then nothing happened. And then we did it again, and then it popped up again. So there are definitely bugs. But the HomePod in general did get features like handoff. So you can tap your phone to the top of the HomePod. And I think right now it is AirPlaying to that device. I thought the original feature of this was to actually use AirPlay 2 to entirely stop playing on your phone and then have it start on the HomePod. But from what Federico Viticci of Mac Stories put out an article, and I think it does just AirPlay it, which is weird. Is
this with the phone calls too? Because you can hand off music, podcasts, or phone calls by bringing your iPhone close to HomePod. But if it's doing that in all cases, just as an AirPlay device, that is a little weird.
Yeah, I think, phone calls probably are still just AirPlaying from your current device to that.
Oh yeah,
this is something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's basically like the most significant update that the HomePod has gotten. I will confirm next week, definitely for sure, of all the shortcut stuff that does work. But what's cool is you can also add music into your HomeKit scenes now.
This is a finally for me. Yeah, I want to be able to wake up to Lizzo or Beyonce or something, and I want to have my HomeKit scene. It turns on the lights bright, and then maybe I set it so then it drops it to 50 and then turns bright again. And so I'm just like having my dance party in the morning. And for the longest time, you couldn't use your HomePod as easily to make this happen. And finally, my HomeKit scenes get this functionality added to them.
Yeah.
But what about if I want to relax?
What do you mean?
It's got ambient sounds. That's
yeah, that's right. The new like white noise type things, or like soft rainfall. I do know a developer who makes, it's called Dark Noise, and that's a really nice ambient sound app too that has a bunch of shortcut support. So I was a little bit like, I hope he's not like crap. But even still, it's like that should be built into something like smart speakers most of the time.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm hoping, I haven't updated my HomePod yet, but I'm planning on doing that. And maybe I'll be paying my bills with Alpha while I'm at it. We'll just have to see. A couple more news stories here that we want to talk about. So one is that as Apple had promised, Apple TV, the app, was going to be coming to a bunch of different smart televisions. And so what that means is that with the Apple TV app on your smart television, you can watch your iTunes library of content, but you can also use Apple TV's built-in channels service that lets you, within Apple TV, subscribe to HBO, Cinemax, a bunch of different ones.
Probably,
Stars, several of those. And they have pretty good trials to get, like free trials to get you kicked off. The big thing is that on these different devices, including now the Amazon Fire TV, you are able to access your iTunes library, which in the past was not as easy to do if you were like doing some sort of HDMI streaming from your computer or your phone or whatever. So Apple
and a lot
TV's
of the new TV shows too, the Apple TV
Oh
Plus
yeah, Apple TV
stuff.
Plus.
That's all launching this Friday with their like morning show, and then the C show where everybody's blind and Jason Momoa is punching people or something like that.
I think that is what it is. It's pretty much just that, yeah.
Just punching. But they look interesting, and this is an interesting one with the walled garden complaint, because Apple's walled garden has, I mean, maybe they just are nice. They're friends with Amazon again, because you can do Apple Music on Echo devices and stuff. So it does make sense though, because it's kind of like, it would be pretty dumb to make everybody buy an iPhone just to watch the TV show. Like, you do get a year of Apple TV Plus when you buy new Apple products right now for free, but it is still like, these are eventually people are going to want to watch it. And it's like, you don't want to have to buy a new smart technology just to watch another program. So this is something where the walled garden needs to have holes in it. I don't know. Apple
is in the services game. They're in the services game now. It's not just hardware anymore. So they're going to offer these services that are available on other platforms so that anybody can hop in and buy it. I think that's going to have to cover it. The other news stories that are here, a quick little note is that Philips Hue has been working on some filament bulbs. So if you are, if you have a bunch of extra money and you are extra and you're a hipster, yeah. So I guess if you live in Berkeley, and you want
calling me out.
I'm calling you out a little bit. I was in Berkeley this passing weekend, and it's pretty hipstery, but I kind of like it. In fact, the friend I was with said, I think that Berkeley is the right city for you. And I said, why? And he said, well, you just kind of have some hipster vibes. So I belong there with my Philips Hue filament lights. But these lights give you that look of classic lighting while also offering you the smart functionality, the smart wireless bulbs and things like that. But they're pricey. They're not cheap. And it's not everybody's going to be able to afford these, I think.
They do have nice sizes. I think it's a lot of desk lamps have really small bulb sizes. And then in general, if you have any exposed bulbs without like a lampshade, the Hue lights are generally way too bright. And so these are actually dimmer, so that when they're just on in an open outlet, like kind of those wall mounted sconce things, I think it is. You can look at the bulb and it won't blind you, but it'll still be a nice sort of vibe.
Nice vibes. Yeah. And then the other thing is that there are a few updates with HomeKit. So we have some new technology that's getting HomeKit capabilities, including, as I mentioned, with the release of iOS 13.2, HomeKit Video. HomeKit Secure Video is the feature. And so what this does is it allows you to, it's kind of a privacy and free of subscription functionality. So a lot of times when you buy a webcam or a smart camera of some sort, you have to pay the company a monthly subscription to get access to a longer backup of the video, to get the functionality that can tell like, oh, this is a pet, or this is this, or this is that. With this update, it allows all of that processing to happen on your local devices, and it lets you save a certain amount of video without having to pay anything extra. So you buy the right smart camera that works with HomeKit, and then it will do all of that local processing of the data instead of sending it off to a server somewhere. So the what is it? Is it Arlo or is it Anchor?
Anchor has a Eufy brand, EUFY, and it's like the Eufy 2. So that now came out, and that works with HomeKit. Free DVR storage is what they're saying, which is actually pretty cool too. And then the other one is the Arlo 2. And then it's basically just like, it seems like a lot of these HomeKit cameras have been waiting for HomeKit support, and now they're finally starting to roll on through, which is nice.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing is Netatmo, the weather station thing that's been around for years and years, just finally got HomeKit too, which is great.
Yeah, a long time coming there. I've held out on getting one of those weather stations for this reason. So it's kind of nice to see that get support. And, we don't have a lot of time to talk about this, but we might touch on this next week because I think this is a big story. But one of the criticisms is that Amazon and Google for the longest time have been doing super well in the integrations for the smart home. And Apple has kind of been falling behind in that, or that's the argument at least. Well, Apple is currently working on improving those its efforts and building a team. And like I said, I think we'll talk more about this next week, but it's clear that they are really trying to make sure that they reach out to companies and get this support added to different smart webcams and all sorts of devices so that they can be sort of playing at least on the same field as the other smart home device manufacturers that are out there.
I did think it was funny that the article was about how like Apple's falling behind, and there's 4 line items about new devices that got HomeKit updates this week. So it was pretty interesting timing. But it is like, I saw that article and I was a little bit like, I hope they didn't just start doing this because they needed this like a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our picks of the week. So as I mentioned, here in Petaluma, we are getting some of the ash and smoky air coming down from the north due to the wildfires. And so I've been trying to keep track of the air quality because along with me, I also have 2 tiny dogs with tiny little respiratory systems, and I want to make sure that they're breathing the best air that they can. One of my dogs is a full-bred Chihuahua, and with that, he has something that's common in Chihuahuas where they're it's part of the breathing tube will collapse because it's such a small little tube in there that the changes in pressure can actually cause it to sort of collapse in the middle, and so he starts sounding like a kazoo. And so that happens regardless of any bad air. That's just a thing that he has. And so obviously I need to be keeping track to make sure that the air quality is good. And so far so good. I've got this service called, and it's a device and a service, and it's called Aware. That's AWAIR.
I get it.
You're aware of the air.
Wink, wink, wink.
Right. And so this sensor, it's the second edition of the Aware, and it is, I have to say, it's a gorgeous device. It's like got this wood exterior.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's very hipster. It's got this wood exterior and this white interior, and it almost looks like it is a speaker. It looks a lot like a mid-century modern speaker. But on the front, it tells you your air quality and can give you that. And if you knock on the top of it, it'll give you the current time. So it kind of switches between the 2 screens there. But what I love about it is that it bugs me throughout the day. Hey, here's what's happening in your home right now. Like the temperature is pretty low, or the humidity has just gone up, or the CO2 in your home is up. And it does multiple things. It does temperature, humidity, CO2, chemicals, and the parts per million of what are they called? Like dust or whatever. Yeah. And right now, within my home, we're at 134. Ooh. Unfortunately, which is just not great.
That's and dreadful.
This is with windows closed, air, AC running to sort of take out some of that, and with my air filter also running. Like I've got one of those, whatever, I can't remember what they're called, but it's the Wirecutter recommended one.
Do you know what your average is?
Average
when it's not Smoky outside?
I don't know, but it's so the app has like 5 different dots, and like at the top is the really red dot, and the bottom is the green dot. And right now I'm at really red dot.
Okay.
But I'm normally at green dot, so it's got to be like 15, 20 normally, and it's at 138 right now. So.
Yeah, wow. Dang it. I'm not going to buy this one live on air this time because last week I did that, and then I ended up switching my decision. But this is like, I don't have air conditioning in my house in Berkeley because 99% of the year you don't actually need it.
Right.
And we don't have any type of way to like air out the house. So
gotcha.
I might need to get one of these.
Yeah, so it's $175. You can get it on Amazon. Yeah, we'll include it we'll include it in the show notes. Matthew, what is your pick for this week?
Yes, I wanted to go something that people might not think about, and even the way Apple talks about it is weird. So this is for Apple TV users. The Apple TV remote app has Siri shortcuts functionality now. And so what that means is normally you can use in Control Center, you can bring up the Apple TV remote like digitally on your phone. So you can swipe around and select stuff. You can use Siri through your phone to control the TV, which is cool. But in iOS 13, Apple added the remote app actions to shortcuts where you can turn on your TV, you can sleep the TV, and then I don't think, the other one is show the remote, and then the cool thing is you can open apps on the TV. And so you can have like, I think I named mine Succession because that's the show that I've been watching on HBO now. And all it does is turns on the TV and opens it right to the HBO app, it's just like, I feel like all of this smart home stuff that even we've just been getting in the last few months is like, this is so cool. And then I feel like it's like hard to appreciate because we already have it, and it's not like I wish I had this. So it's like your HomePod can control the whole room, and you can open stuff on the TV. I guess now that I think about it, all of our replies to this are going to be you can just do that with Google Assistant. Now that I think about it, but it's nice
to have that now for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's sort of like all of the different brands are sort of getting to like a similar level, and it's exciting to play around with.
All right, folks. Well, like I said, we've got fires all around, and so this is a very special episode. We thank you for tuning in today. If you have questions or feedback, which we will answer next week and in the shows to come, you can email us at stt@twit.tv, or you can also head to twit.community and sign up for an account there and leave us your questions, your feedback, your shortcuts, projects, or just any sort of smart home thing that you want, whatever it happens to be that you want. Tune in live. We record the show live every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 p.m. Pacific, or 2300 UTC. You just go to twit.tv/live, or you can join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/twit, TWIT, and you can watch it live, so you get to see the video portion of it. But if you tell your friends out there to subscribe to the show, share it with people, talk about it, tweet about it, Facebook, whatever. Well, Facebook, but please do share it there too. That gets it in front of other people's eyes, and when they subscribe, then we get more subscribers, and when we reach 30,000 subscribers, video magically comes on. So if you want to see this show in video, that's how you do it. Matthew, if people want to follow you online, how can they do so?
At Matt Cassinelli on Twitter, and then search for Matthew Cassinelli on YouTube, and I should pop up.
Beautiful. You can find me at Mikah Sargent on most of the social things. If you want to subscribe to the show, you head to twit.tv/STT, and that will have links to all the different places you can subscribe, be it Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, etc. And I guess that's the end of the show, Matthew, so it's time to say goodnight to your smart assistants.
Hey, Sierra, sleep my Apple TV.
Very nice. And I will say, hey, Alpha, it's time for bed.